Here we go. What's up, horror fans? Pete here from the Lassercast. For me and my good friend Danny, Dr. Zayas G.O.D. Torkel discuss horror movies and streaming shows. Now, here's the deal, guys. We, of course, love horror on the Lassercast. We're named after the Lasser Glass in one of Mike Flanagan's movies, Oculus. But Danny and I just love movies so much in general, and not to mention that, but there's quite often movies that are not horror movies, but will have horror elements to them. So we have decided to make a new little segment on our show called Beyond Horror, where the movie that we're covering isn't necessarily horror related at all. We've covered some David Lynch movies and Twin Peaks and stuff, so we're going to put that in the Beyond Horror section. But I work with this guy, his name's Barry, and he's originally from India. I work with quite a few guys from India that work in my pizza place that I deliver pizzas for. And Barry loves movies, and he loves movies from India. So he started to recommend movies to me, one of which is Devara, Part 1, which stars who, Danny?
It stars a man who is usually just referred to as NTR Jr., Tarak Ramarao Jr., who the opening credits of this movie he has his own title card that says Man of Masses. And I wanted to look up exactly how many masses this guy has. And all I'll say is he's followed by 7.9 million people on Twitter. So almost 8 million Twitter followers. He's one of the biggest actors in India, which is, I believe they have surpassed China as the #1 populated country in the world. So this is, you may not have heard of him. We may not have heard of him, but right. He is legitimately one of the biggest actors in the world. Right. If you are an American viewer who you might recognize him. He right. was Beam in RRR, the right. Oscar-winning film from right. a couple years ago, right. with Oscar-winning song Natu Natu. And that movie had two main characters. He played Beam, and then you had the other actor, Ram Charan, who played the other character in the movie. And that movie is what got me into Indian movies, Indian film, Indian cinema. I got, I think it was a guy who I've brought up on the show several times, Ted Gagan. Ted Gagan, of course, directed Brooklyn 45, We Are Still Here. Right. Very good horror director. He also co-hosts the best horror trivia in New York City, Final Exam Horror Trivia, once a month with Michael Gingold, writer from Fangoria and Rue Morgue. And he had just randomly sent out a tweet a couple years ago that was basically, you might not have ever heard of this movie, but it's playing for one night only at the Nighthawk Cinema in Brooklyn. If you want to go and see a movie like nothing you've ever seen before, grab a ticket and go. Right. And I was like, yeah, okay, sure. RRR. I don't know what that means. It's 3 hours long. Okay, what the hell am I in for? It's Nighthawk. I'll grab a beer. I'll have some food, whatever. Right. And it was a life-changing experience. I love it. It's maybe in my top 10 movies of all time. Right. I saw it in the I made it a mission to see it in the movie theater as many times as I could. I think I saw it 6 times in the movie theater. I dragged Charlotte to the Staten Island Alamo to see it there. Wow. And then now it's on Netflix, and it won an Oscar for Best Original Song, and it's one of the most successful movies in the world over the last few years. So this movie, when you said, hey, let's watch this Indian movie, Devara, and I saw, holy shit, that's, That's Beam from RRR. Sure, you don't have to
Yes.
twist my arm.
Yes.
I'll give it a shot. And if you're sitting there and you're wondering, like, how do I even find these movies? Literally, Netflix
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
an unending supply
Right.
of Indian films. And they have from all the different sections of Indian cinema, they just
Right.
have countless movies. And all you have to do is just like search up Devara or RRR and then go more like this. And if you click the more like this button, you will be inundated with hundreds of titles, most of them 2.5 to 3 hours long, but all the ones I've watched have been, at worst, they've been really fun, and at best, they've been absolutely amazing.
Yes. Yes. Very well put. I mean, what are you going to do with all that free time of yours? Watch Yellow Jackets? Come on. So now we're going to watch these Indian films, and the guy who is the main actor in Devara is the nephew of this actor in another movie that Barry recommended for me, which is called Daku Maharaj. That's also available on Netflix. Apparently, the main star in that is like the biggest action star in India. He's like this legendary actor, and his nephew is the one that was in RRR, and he's in this movie, Devara Part 1. So it's like a family legacy. These guys are like huge, huge stars. Barry recommended 3 movies to me initially. He recommended Devara Part 1, Daku Maraj, and then this other movie called Pushpa 2, which is also available on Netflix. And I fucking loved all 3 of them. And as I kept watching them, I was like, oh, I like this one. Oh, I like this one even more. Oh, I like this one the best. So it's just been a real exciting ride. I'm actually on Hulu right now, thanks to Barry, and I'm watching this other movie. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's like an Indian superhero movie they're trying to build like a shared universe. But what I will say though is that watching these 3 movies, it's eye-opening. It's kind of like when you would watch anime in the 90s here in the United States. You'd be like, oh, there's this whole other world that like we don't even know about, but it's just the main part of the culture in this other country, right?
Yeah.
I think America is starting to become aware of this kind of stuff. Like Marvel's trying to incorporate this stuff. They tried to bring in some like sort of like Bollywood stuff into like Eternals, and then they've used that character in other Marvel stuff. I'm trying to think what the name of it. Kinko, right? No, Kingo. Okay. Not Kinko. Yeah, that'd be a whole different character. His name was
His
Kinko.
superpower is he makes a lot of copies.
There you go, Kinko's. I was going in the pervy way, but you did that. That's much better. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But what I wanted to say before I get your thoughts on Devara Part 1 is it's so interesting because there's so many different languages that are used in India, and there's so many different like versions of their cinema, right? Because like we think Bollywood as Americans. Oh, Indian people, it's Bollywood. That's their movies. But there's like all different versions of that. And there's Tollywood, which is the genre or like the type of Indian movie that this movie fits in. And I fucking love this Tollywood stuff.
Yeah, there's Bollywood, there's Tollywood, and then there's also Collywood, and it depends on what language the movies are based in.
Right.
We in America, we have one basic language, English, with I'm sure the people around you in Texas don't sound the way you do as a native New Yorker, but
right.
It's English, right? And yes,
right.
we have other languages that are spoken here, but the American film industry is almost entirely in English, whereas India, with its billions of people, speak Hindi is, I believe, the most common language in India, and Hindi is the language of Bollywood. Tollywood, their movies are based in the Telugu language,
right?
And then there's Tamil, a third language that is, I believe, the language of Collywood with a K. And I don't know the major differences between the types of cinema, because my introduction, and maybe it's yours too, to Indian cinema is actually not Indian. It's Danny Boyle's Oscar-winning movie,
Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire, which had an Oscar-winning song,
Jai Ho.
Jai Ho, which was, I believe, and I've always heard, was a Bollywood number.
Okay.
And so, like, when I saw RRR and they have the Natu Natu scene, I thought, oh, this is just the same type of film, and it's not. It's similar, but it's actually a Tollywood movie.
Right.
And this movie, Devara, is also a Tollywood movie, but it features some of the craziest action sequences you'll ever see. It features storytelling through layers.
Yep.
Like, the movie starts, and for the first 20 minutes, the movie is about these cops that are looking for a like a criminal.
Yeah.
And they end up on this island where they're looking for this criminal, and then they end up meeting this elder who takes them out on a boat ride.
Right.
One of the guys goes overboard and sees like these dead under the water, and it haunts him.
Yeah.
And then the movie shifts to for the next 2 hours and like 20 minutes. It's the elder telling this cop the story of everything that's gone on this island.
Exactly.
And this like heroic like leader, Devara, who kept the people safe, but he also his enemies tried to kill him, and he protects the seas. And then there's this huge twist at the end that I guess we'll spoil in a few minutes. And we don't even really get back to the cop plot in this movie.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, so I guess Devara 2 is going to pick up, and maybe all of the story from this island will bring us back to our cops and the criminal that they're searching for.
Right.
But like,
that's good. Yeah.
No, it's just like it's just wild. It's a wild form of storytelling,
right?
And it's an incredibly visual form of storytelling where there's the way these movies are filmed. Everything is like, you've heard the phrase action set piece, where it feels like these movies have not one big set piece, not two, but like 5, 6, 10 different set pieces.
Yep.
And some of those are the dances and the songs, which are amazing. And some of them are legitimately amazing action sequences that take place on both land and sea. You have like a kumite fight scene, like multiple versions of that. It's just, if you can obviously suspend your disbelief, and if you can, I get 2.5, 3 hours as a commitment, but if you can just say to yourself, I'm going to open my mind to experience something absolutely completely different, that no matter what language it's in, will never, ever, ever be boring.
No.
Then Devara and a lot of these movies that I've watched so far and that I'm looking forward to watching, they're just, every time you say to yourself, all right, this has been a little weird, something crazy happens, and you're like pulled right back in.
Yes. Danny, you did an excellent job just breaking it all down like that. I've noticed watching these 3 movies that there seems to be like a pattern. And I think that RRR might have this as well. But like, the pattern is that you kind of like begin somewhere like at the end of the story, or like towards the end of the story. That's the first scene. Then you kind of like introduce the main character. And when the main character is introduced, it's this like big dramatic thing, because the main characters are like fucking like, they're like movie gods. They're like Schwarzenegger and Stallone and stuff from the 80s, but they're like even more. They're like Marvel movie gods, where like they just walk slowly And like their little things, like sometimes they'll just like pick a fucking fruit off the tree or something, but it'll be so dramatic where it's like whoosh. And like everything that these guys do in all of these movies, Pushpa 2, Devara, Daku Mirage, it's like all the women just think they're the hottest thing. Like men kind of cower from them or like are super intimidated by them. They're just like these fucking like virile, powerful, amazing moving guys. And I fucking love it. It's so over the top and it's so like not American these days, right? Because that's one of the things that we do on this channel, especially you, Danny. You like champion foreign cinema a lot, where you talk about how good foreign cinema is and how different it can be. Like in America, wow, I'm starting to sound like a fucking MAGA guy over here, but like we've certainly played down the male action figure. Like we have definitely like made it more like, oh, women can do this too, or like, you know, look at this female character. Oh, the male character is an idiot or something like that. In these movies, the men are just like they're like bigger than Captain America or like Thor. You know, they're just like James Bond that can also dance like. This crazy Indian dance. Yeah.
Like the things like they don't. There's never really a part of the movies that I've seen so far where you're expected to believe that these characters are like real human beings. Like, right. Did you see RRR? Did you?
All right. So I'm admitting this to you, and then I guess Barry's going to see this too, dude. I watched a lot of RRR, but like I was so behind with all of our recordings and stuff that we always do. I never finished RRR, but I finished all three of these that Barry has recommended though.
Like Brian and I went to see it at the AMC Lincoln Square. We got to see SS Rajamouli, the director, was there live. It was incredible. He made the point, and the director, that like in that movie, the leads are like, they are like hyper defined, like they're almost like these unkillable legends.
Right, exactly.
But like that was how they were supposed to be. They're supposed to represent like leaders of India who are like fighting back, and they're like, these incredible, like they could be tortured and beaten, but nothing can ever like kill them. And it kind of feels like that in this movie too, where you have all these characters who like hang out underwater for 30 minutes at a time. But like never for 1 second. You're the way that the movie's filmed, you're just your brain is just like, that's so fucking cool. And your brain is not going, they should all be dead.
Right. That was actually one of my favorite parts. Oh, go ahead.
It really is just a different kind of filmmaking, and where the emphasis is on what you're looking at, what you're listening to, and not necessarily does this all make perfect linear sense? Does this make physical sense? Because there is so much. I think like they do tie a lot. I think a lot of it does play back to like a lot of the Hindu beliefs and like the gods and all the stories of all the gods in Hinduism. And I think there's a lot of that in here.
Yes.
But like all the characters are so badass. Like I find myself watching these Indian movies and being like, look, these fucking guys are like the manliest fucking dudes I've ever seen. Like, and then like I find myself like the Indian women come on, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, wow.
Yes.
I just these movies succeed in like overstimulating you in almost every possible way.
Yes. Well, so that's one thing I want to talk about too, right? Because these movies are so long. And they are in subtitles, right? So it is a commitment. It's not the kind of thing where you can like be on your phone messing around because you have to read the fucking subtitles to know what's going on, right? So I had to pay attention to these movies for like almost 3 hours. And the action is so great. The lead is so charismatic. Barry was saying that this is his favorite out of the 3 that he recommended to me. And it's because the main actor is his favorite actor from India, right? He's super charming as hell. But I do think that Daku Mirage is great. I think Pushpa is super charismatic too. Pushpa. But what I was going to say though is that these movies, they kind of have this pattern where it's like they introduce the main character and then they do the credits like kind of far into the movie. Then like you're jumping around in time, you're following the main conflict, and then usually a woman gets brought in almost by like the time of the third act in like an American movie. But I don't know if I'd necessarily say it's the third act in these movies. But like 75% of the way into the movie, all of a sudden you get this female lead that kind of sticks out. And then they have this like music sequence every time in these third act times, like 75% in. And the women are like so fucking gorgeous. And then like the men and the women, everyone's an amazing dancer. And in each sequence, like they're just dancing with like dozens, if not hundreds of people. It's like insane, you know? I get so excited about that shit.
The choreography, the music, the dance sequences, they're mind-blowing. They're really great. And like you know, like again, like Slumdog Millionaire, the end credits of that movie, I think like woke a lot of people up to this entire like other film industry that exists.
But see, that's what I love. Oh, good. Well, I was gonna say, like that's one of the things I love though, and that's what's so different from American cinema is that this movie's pretty melodramatic and intense, right, Devara? But then all of a sudden, like 75% of the way through the movie, they like are like doing a music video, like literally like looking right at you and having like this romantic music video, you know, and then it goes back to this like super serious, somber movie, you know?
Yeah. I think that I think the movies are also the ones that I've seen, they have great senses of humor. And I think that that's due in part to how good the actors are. Like I think that, you know, NTR he's got this amazing ability as an actor. And I'm trying to think of like an American counterpart where
it's hard to,
he can be the most badass action fucking hero, and then he could turn around and be the doofiest, like I don't know what I'm doing, like, oh, is that the girl? I don't know what I'm doing. And then he can like flip a switch and he's like this like sexy, like, you know, like scintillating leading man. And I'm like, how does he flip these switches like this? Like
I know.
And I love like the humor of the woman in this movie, John V. Kapoor.
John V. Kapoor.
Yeah, who plays Sangam. She's like betrothed to Vara, who's Devara's son.
Right.
And the whole movie, the whole like subplot there is that Vara is not living up to his father's legacy.
Right.
And so she's always talking to like her group of like Indian women, and she's like, I knew as a kid he was never meant for me. He's not manly enough. And then like she'll hear a story that like something he did, and she'll be like, oh my God, I knew he was so manly ever since we were kids. And it's like there's this like continuous comedic thread. And then like you said, when they finally like at the end, they do like a full-on stare at the camera music video, and you're just like, let's fucking go. And
I love it so fucking much. You're absolutely right, because there's just this funny, silly interaction between men and women, pretty much in all three of these movies. Definitely Devara and Pushpa, where it's like this sort of like the man's role and the woman's role, and they kind of like are flirting, but they're also getting frustrated with each other. And it's so silly and fun. And it's very un-American too, because like I know I keep kind of coming back to this stuff, and I sound like I'm a fucking Trumper over here, but like American cinema, the way we are now, it's very like PC, and like the man can't ever kind of win the woman over with machismo and stuff in current American cinema. It always has to be that like the woman has this complex thing, and the man is serving some kind of purpose there. But like in this kind of cinema, it's sort of more like old-fashioned, or the way that it used to be, where it's like the guy likes the girl, he's trying to impress her, and he's going to do this kind of manly thing to impress her. And she gets like, one of the things that's so fucking interesting about the female character you're talking about, this actress, this is her first Telugu role ever. This is like her debut in this type of movie. And she's incredibly fucking beautiful. But then her whole thing when they introduce her as an adult is that she's basically keeping all the women from getting with the other men in the village because all the men are like so into her, you know? And it's just to me, it's like so refreshing to kind of see this kind of stuff. Like I'm a very progressive guy, and I, you know, obviously I think of women in a certain way, and you know, I work with a lot of women, but it's just kind of cool to see like, oh, there's this guy and he likes this girl and he's trying to impress her, and there's all this romantic tension. I don't know. I was just eating that shit up, man.
Yeah. I loved everybody in the movie. I love the like, I guess you'd call him the lead villain in this movie, who you meet in the original storyline with the cops. He's like alive in the first 20 minutes. He like plays this badass character, Byra, played by Saif Ali Khan, who apparently is another just absolute megastar in India. And like, he is badass through the movie too, but like, he's like, you know, he is willing to go along with Devara for a while, but then he wants, you know, Devara wants there to be basically peace, and he, you know, basically, we're like 26 minutes in. I don't know if we've really given the plot much of a point, but like, Devara is like he runs this like group of islands that the Red Sea, where they like they have these like Indian gangsters who give them like ships to take down, and they like steal weapons and smuggle weapons off of these big ships. And when Devara finds out that like the weapons are being used to like, you know, keep the people of India down, he decides we're not going to do this anymore. Byra and the others, they want to keep doing it. And it's like, well, nobody can stop Devara. So half the movie is about them trying to basically kill Devara so that they can reclaim, you know, control of the water, and continue to make money, even though it, you know, doing it in a way that harms the people. And there's this great like middle point where like Devara kills all these fucking people at the beach.
Oh,
and
so good.
Everyone shows up, and there's like this rock that has like a fucking manifesto written in blood. You know, like if there is a horror scene in this movie, it's like that fucking beach scene. And it's some of the scenes in the water where
it's just so funny because there's so much stuff written in blood on this rock. It's like a Stephen King novel on this rock. And they read it out loud at one point too, and he's like, if I ever find myself in the circumstance where I'm in the shadow, like, it's not just like, stay the fuck away, Devara will kill you. It's like, my
Chapter
heart
1.
Right. I fucking love it. Oh, but I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, but it's just like and then the second part of the movie is like Devara goes away. He like disappears, and he's basically like, you will not see me. I will be like an invisible spirit that haunts you, and if you try to go back out onto the sea, I will find you and stop you. And so like you have these like villainous characters who are trying to like scheme ways to get back onto the water and make more money. And you eventually find out, I don't know if I want to spoil the movie, because I thought the twist was genuinely really good.
Yeah, you know what? Don't spoil it, because maybe we'll turn some of our viewers onto this movie.
Yeah,
you know
I mean, I always hope to turn some of our viewers on.
Mission accomplished. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
You don't even know how to
No,
touch
but
that. Pun intended. But go ahead.
there is a really good twist. There is a really good twist towards the in the second half of the movie. Um, and I thought like it actually shocked me. I thought it was cool, and I think it sets up for the
Devara
sequel,
too.
which
Right.
which is in the process. It's on IMDb. It's in production.
Right.
So yeah, um, I want to just mention the writer director. His name is I wrote it down. I'm trying to read my own handwriting. Koratala Siva,
Yes. Yeah.
and yeah. So yeah, the only Indian director who I know a lot of is SS Rajamouli because he did RRR, and then I made it like a point to try to see some of his earlier movies. And you want to see like an unstoppable godlike character. Watch the oh, is it called Bajabuli? There's like two. He has a part one and a part two of this character, and it's like the movies are fucking crazy, but like he like it's almost like watching Brad Pitt
Fight
in
Club.
Troy, where it's like one
Oh,
guy
Achilles.
killing an entire army of people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love this so much, and you kind of
Bahubali. That's who it is. Bahubali. It's Bahubali 1 and 2.
yeah, yeah. And it's kind of funny too, Danny, because I've watched Devara like a long time ago at this point. I think it might have been like over 2 weeks ago at least. So it's not as fresh in my mind as Pushpa 2. And I'm hoping that you and I can cover that eventually, and we can cover Daku Mirage too. Because they're very different films, but then they're very similar too. And I fucking loved all of them. I'm really glad that my friend Barry recommended this. I mean, I feel like we could go into detail about something like the set pieces and stuff, but why don't we save that for one of the later ones? Because I even have to kind of head back home now too. Was there anything else you wanted to say about Devara Part 1, Danny?
Uh, no, but I'll just do my general. Oh, you mentioned it earlier. I try to champion foreign horror films. I always watch. I always remember when Bong Joon Ho won the Oscar for Best Director for Parasite,
Right,
and he famously said that like if you can get over like the 1 inch of letters at the bottom of your screen, you'll open your mind up to like a world of new movies.
right.
And whether it's horror movies, which I think foreign horror, like we think about just the 5 years we've been on this channel, I think 3 of the 5 years, our number one movie of the year was a foreign film.
Correct.
Um, yeah, whether and that's it could be South Korea, it could be Argentina, or Mexico or Japan. uh we There's great horror being made everywhere. There's great movies being made everywhere, and if you open up your mind to this stuff and watch one of the movies. That's what I did. I watched RRR. I took a shot in the dark. I somebody whose opinion I valued, Ted Gagan. I said, all right, I don't know what this movie is. I'll go see it at Nighthawk. And I don't want to be like over dramatic and say it changed my life, but it changed my life as a moviegoer. Like I've committed to watching, hours and hours of Indian cinema because of that movie. And I genuinely love almost everything that I've seen. Uh Netflix has a treasure trove of these movies. Um and yeah, they do have some like horror movies, some ghost stories that I would love to
Yeah,
get into.
right.
um so if any of our viewers know any of those like Indian horror movies, like recommend them, shoot them into the comments.
Yeah,
uh you can't really dismiss an entire world of cinema that is bigger than what we have in America. America has 325 million people. India has over 2 billion.
oh
So,
my God.
you know, China has over 2 billion people. Like, so it's kind of hard to just be dismissive of all of that. So,
Yes.
and I will say, this is the last thing I'll say. The best thing, these Indian movies, you can almost watch them without subtitles.
Yes,
They are
yes.
so they're so visual. They're so audio. The music and the score pumping in the background, the music video, the dance sequences, the action sequences. You can almost interpret the plot and the character motivations from the emotions and from everything else around. So if you genuinely hate subtitles and you just want to watch and listen to 2.5 hours of absolute craziness, put one of these movies on.
Yep. Totally agree. I mean, I just fucking love these movies. I'm just really thankful to my friend Barry that he showed me this, and that I'm really thankful that you're willing to watch these with me. If you're down, man, next time around we can cover Docu Mirage, and then we get to Pushpa
Sure.
2. Yeah. So I'll do the little plug right now, Danny, because we've got to get going. But like, if you guys like this video, please subscribe. Make sure to follow us and let us know your thoughts. We're going to cover some more Indian cinema on here. There's at least 2 more movies that we're going to cover in our Beyond Horror section. But then besides that, if you guys like horror and you like listening to me and Danny talk, we are still covering Yellow Jackets. We're about to finish season 3 next week. But yeah, it's been fucking fun, Danny, talking about this shit. And we'll watch some more Indian movies.
Yeah.
All right. So then we'll see you guys in America next